What if everything you've been through, every failure, every rejection, every night you couldn't sleep because of stress or hunger wasn't meant to break you, but to build you? Most people never get to see what someone had to survive before they made it. They only see the success, the car, the house, the smile, but they never see the cold nights, the silence, the loneliness that comes from knowing no one is coming to save you. No one sees the fight behind the face, the person who started at the bottom and kept falling even lower. But let's go back to the beginning, the part no one wants to talk about, the part where your dreams seem stupid, where you can't even afford to think big because you're too busy trying to get through the day. That's where it all starts. Not with a big idea, not with a winning lottery ticket, but with the pain of being overlooked, the shame of being stuck, the quiet fear that this might just be your life forever. There's something different about waking up with nothing. It humbles you. It hardens you. It teaches you things no classroom ever will, like what it means to keep going even when there's no applause, what it feels like to work all day just to come home to a dark room, an empty fridge, and a heart full of doubt. It forces you to decide, will you settle for the life you were given or fight for the one you deserve? The world loves to label people poor, hopeless, broken. They don't just ignore you, they define you by your struggle. And if you're not careful, you start to believe them. You start to shrink your dreams to fit the size of your circumstances. You convince yourself that maybe success is only for the lucky, that maybe greatness isn't in you after all. But what if that's a lie? What if the very thing meant to destroy you is the same thing that could drive you? See, people who rise from nothing don't have extra talent. They don't have more time or better luck. What they do have is a fire, a deep, relentless hunger to prove to the world and to themselves that they are more than their circumstances. They take the pain, the poverty, the rejection, and they turn it into fuel. Not because it's easy, but because they have no other choice. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe life has kicked you down so many times you've started to believe you belong on the ground. Maybe people around you gave up a long time ago, and now they want you to give up too, just so they don't have to feel guilty watching you try. But hear this, your current reality is not your final story. This is not the end. It's the start of something greater, something no one sees coming. Some of the most powerful transformations begin in silence. Not on a stage, not in front of a camera, but in a small room where someone makes a quiet promise, I'm not going to stay here. That's where the real story begins. Not in the success, but in the suffering. Not in the light, but in the darkness where strength is built and character is forged. This story you're about to hear, this journey from rags to riches, is more than inspiration. It's a blueprint. A reminder that no matter how deep the hole, no matter how long you've been buried, you are not done. Because when someone rises from nothing, they carry something inside them that can never be taken away. Grit, purpose, fire. Stay with this story. Let it speak to the parts of you that are tired but not finished. Let it stir the dream you buried under doubt and routine, because by the end, you won't just believe in their story. You'll believe in your own. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you'll feel unstoppable. But deciding you won't stay where you are, that's only the beginning. It's the spark, not the fire. Because after that quiet promise, nothing outside you changes. The bills still come. The doubts still whisper. The people who never believed in you, they don't suddenly start clapping. In fact, some of them will laugh. Others will ignore you. And many will wait for you to fail, just to say they were right. But that's the moment where everything shifts, not outside, but within. That's the moment where something deep inside you wakes up. You stop needing approval. You stop chasing validation. And you start building brick by brick with nothing but belief and desperation. It doesn't start loud. There's no grand moment, no audience. It starts with showing up when you don't feel like it, working after everyone else sleeps, reading when you'd rather quit, trying again after the 100th rejection. That's what no one talks about, the grind that no one sees, the growth that no one celebrates. Because success doesn't come to those who want it. It comes to those who refuse to stop. And that refusal, it's not emotional. It's not about hype. It's a decision you make over and over again, especially when it hurts, especially when nothing seems to be working. There's a reason most people stay stuck. The path to change is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront every excuse, every fear, every part of you that wants to stay safe. The voice in your head that says, why try? It'll never work. That voice never disappears. But you learn how to speak louder. You learn to act anyway. You start to redefine who you are, not by your past, not by your failures, but by your persistence. You stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I will. Not because you have proof, but because you have purpose. That's where true transformation begins. You begin to see that the world isn't holding you back. It's waiting for you to get serious, to stop blaming, to stop hesitating, to stop looking for signs and start becoming one. You realize that your story won't change until you do, and it doesn't require a miracle. It doesn't require the perfect plan. It requires consistency, discipline, hunger. It requires getting up one more time than you fall, saying no to distractions, saying yes to the hard things, showing up when it's boring. Because repetition builds resilience, and resilience rewrites identity. It's in this season where progress feels invisible that most people quit. They think the silence means failure. They think the struggle means it's not meant to be. But that silence, it's proof that you're growing, that you're changing, that you're being prepared for more. No one tells you this. But the greatest breakthroughs often come right after the moment you almost gave up. That's not a cliche. It's a pattern, a law. Because growth stretches you until it nearly breaks you, and then it reveals who you really are. And who you are is not defined by where you started, not defined by your mistakes, not defined by how long it's taking. You are defined by how deeply you're willing to fight for the life you know you deserve. Let others talk. Let them doubt. Let them stay comfortable. That's not your path. Your path is different. It's harder, yes, but it leads somewhere real, somewhere lasting, somewhere extraordinary. Because if you can push through this season where no one believes, where nothing makes sense, where everything in you wants to give up, you earn something that can't be bought. Unstoppable confidence, not the fake kind, not arrogance, but the deep, unshakable knowing that you've already been through the worst and you didn't break. That kind of belief changes everything. It changes how you show up, how you speak, how you think, and most importantly, how you dream. Because once you realize that effort changes outcomes, you stop waiting for permission and start creating possibility. You don't rise by accident. You rise because you decide to. You rise because the pain of staying the same finally becomes greater than the fear of failing. And in that moment, when your why becomes louder than your fear, nothing can stop you. So keep going, even if you're tired, even if no one's watching, even if it feels like nothing's working, because something is working. Something inside you is shifting. And if you don't quit, you'll see it, you'll feel it, you'll live it. The world doesn't need another person who gave up too soon. It needs someone who fought through the silence, who rose from the dust, who turned pain into power and dared to rise anyway. Be that person. Something powerful happens when you stop needing others to believe in you. You stop chasing validation and start chasing growth. You stop waiting for a breakthrough and start becoming one. The moment you decide to be your own source of motivation, you tap into a strength that no failure can take and no critic can touch. But this is where the test gets real. This is where most people turn back. Because the climb doesn't just challenge your effort, it challenges your identity. It forces you to face the truth about who you are, what you want, and how far you're willing to go to get it. This is the season where you outgrow your old self, and that process is uncomfortable. You'll lose people, you'll lose habits, you'll lose excuses, but you'll gain something far greater, clarity. You start to see what actually matters. You stop wasting time proving yourself to people who will never understand your vision. You stop trying to impress and start trying to improve, because when you've tasted the bitterness of rock bottom, you learn to respect every inch you climb. Nothing is taken for granted. Every small win feels like a miracle. Every setback becomes part of the story. But here's the truth. This climb is lonely. Don't expect cheers. Don't expect comfort. The world rarely celebrates effort. It only honors results. And that's why this part is so important. Because when you continue to rise without attention, without rewards, without recognition, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when the work becomes who you are, not just what you do. People will doubt you. Not because you're weak, but because your growth threatens their comfort. They'll tell you to slow down, to be realistic, to stay where it's safe. But what they don't understand is that safety never built a legacy. Playing small never inspired anyone, and comfort never led to greatness. So let them talk. Let them question. You don't need their permission. Your vision wasn't given to them. It was given to you. And your job isn't to make it make sense to everyone else. Your job is to show up again and again through the silence, through the setbacks, through the self-doubt. You keep climbing because you know what's on the other side is worth every step. And the climb itself, this struggle, this process, it's building something in you. It's not just preparing you for success. It's preparing you to carry it, to hold it, to multiply it. Because wealth without wisdom crumbles, fame without character destroys. But when you earn it through the fire, nothing can shake it. Not loss, not criticism, not failure. You weren't meant to rise quickly. You were meant to rise deeply, with roots so strong that no storm can uproot you. That's what this season is for. Not to destroy you, but to deepen you, to sharpen your focus, to strip away distractions until only purpose remains. And when that happens, when you finally start to feel the weight of your own power, things begin to shift. Doors open, opportunities appear, not because of luck, but because you became the kind of person who creates them. You didn't wait for a handout. You built the bridge. You didn't beg for support. You became your own foundation. And suddenly people start paying attention. The same ones who overlooked you now ask how you did it. Or they'll say you're lucky, that you changed. And they're right. You did change, but it wasn't luck. It was discipline. It was sacrifice. It was showing up when no one clapped. And now they're clapping, not because you asked, but because you earned it. This is what rising really looks like. Not a highlight reel, not an overnight success, but day after day of doing the work with no guarantees, choosing progress over comfort, growth over approval, vision over fear. And every time you wanted to quit but didn't, you built this. You became this. So don't stop now. You've come too far to look back. The hardest part wasn't the work. It was believing it would pay off when nothing around you said it would. And now that it is, own it, stand in it, let it fuel you, because this is only the beginning. The world is just starting to see what you've always known. You are not average. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to rise, to lead, to show others what's possible, not through your words, but through your example, through your consistency, through your refusal to give up when it would have been easier to walk away. Keep going. Because somewhere out there, someone is watching you, quietly hoping it's possible for them too. And when they see you rise, they'll believe they can too. That's the power of one life fully committed, one person who didn't give up, one story that turns pain into purpose. Be that story. When you fought through the doubt, the silence, the loneliness, and kept going, something inside you changes forever. You no longer see obstacles the same way. You stop flinching when life pushes back because you've built yourself in fire, and fire doesn't scare what it's already refined. You stop chasing ease. You stop hoping for shortcuts. Instead, you trust the process because you've seen what it does. You felt yourself evolve through the pain. Every sacrifice, every rejection, every moment of struggle became a tool. And now you're no longer reacting to life. You're creating it. That shift is everything. Because when you stop seeing hardship as a curse and start seeing it as your training ground, you become dangerous, unstoppable. You walk differently. You speak differently. You carry weight. Not because you say you're strong, but because you've lived through what would have broken most people and you're still standing. There's a reason people who come from nothing often end up building something great. It's not just about money. It's not even about proving the doubters wrong. It's about proving the old version of themselves wrong, or the version that believed they weren't enough, that they weren't capable, that they'd always be stuck. That version had to die so a new one could rise. And now every action, every decision, every goal comes from a deeper place, a place of purpose, a place of conviction. You're no longer running from your past. You're using it as fuel, as foundation, as proof that if you came this far, there's no limit to how far you can go. And now everything you used to fear, failure, criticism, being alone, it doesn't hold the same power. You faced it all and you kept moving. You felt doubt and still made progress. You've heard the inner voice say you can't, and you answered with action. That's what creates the breakthrough. Not a perfect plan, not a lucky break, but the courage to keep building even when no one believes. To keep trusting your steps, even when the road is dark. Because you know the vision is real, even if the results haven't shown up yet. The world sees the success, but rarely understands the weight you carried to get there. They see the finish line, but not the miles of pain behind it. They see the transformation, but not the tears, the sacrifices, the moments you almost broke. And that's okay. Because the story isn't for them, it's for you. This is the reward of the climb. Not just the external wins, but the internal ones. The character you developed, the resilience you built, the faith you found in yourself when no one else believed. That's the kind of wealth no amount of money can buy. That's the kind of power no one can take from you. You are no longer who you were. You've earned this version of yourself. And now your presence becomes a reminder of what's possible. You walk into rooms differently. You lead differently. You inspire without even trying because people can feel when someone has done the work, when someone has lived the fight, not just talked about it. And now it's not just about you anymore. You've seen too much, grown too much. You've been given the responsibility to reach back and pull others up, to turn your story into a spark, to show someone else who's still in the dark that it's possible to find the light, that they don't have to stay where they are, that they're allowed to want more, to become more, to live more. You don't need to have it all figured out to make a difference. You just need to be real, to stay hungry, to keep walking with integrity, even when no one's watching, because someone always is. And your example might be the only reason they don't give up today. You didn't come this far to stay quiet. You didn't climb this high to keep it to yourself. Your life is a message, written not in words, but in scars, in lessons, in victories earned the hard way. And now that you've made it through, it's time to walk with purpose, to speak with conviction, to live in a way that honors what you survived. Never forget where you came from, not to dwell in it, but to remember the strength it gave you, to remind yourself of how far you've come. So when the next storm comes, and it will, you'll face it with confidence because you've already proven to yourself that you can make it through the fire. And this time, you're not just surviving, you're leading, you're building, you're becoming. You are the proof that no situation is final, that no label is permanent, that no one gets to write your story but you. And the pen has always been in your hand. You just had to realize it. Now the world sees the rise, but you know where it really started. On the day you refused to stay where you were. Now that you've made it through the fire, you understand something most people never will. Success isn't about the spotlight. It's about becoming someone you're proud of when no one's watching. It's about knowing deep in your bones that you didn't take shortcuts, didn't beg for handouts, didn't fake your way through. You earned every inch of this rise. And because of that, no one can take it from you. You've stepped into a new season, not just one of reward, but of responsibility. Because when you rise from nothing, you don't just escape your past, you rewrite it. You show that your starting point isn't your prison, it's your power. And now that power becomes purpose. You're no longer focused on surviving, you're building. You're expanding. You're creating a life that reflects the person you've become, not the person you used to be. And that transition is everything. It's where true wealth begins, not just in the bank account, but in the mind, in the heart. In how you move through life without fear. Because once you've faced rock bottom, there's nothing left to fear. You stop settling. You stop shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown. You raise your standards, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You've sacrificed too much to entertain mediocrity. You've suffered too deeply to play small, and now you walk with clarity, you speak with certainty, you act with intention. Because every step you take is grounded in a truth you had to fight to find. That you are worthy, not because someone told you, but because you proved it to yourself. You realize the greatest success isn't just material, it's internal. Peace, confidence, discipline, vision. These are the things money can't buy and failure can't steal. And once you have them, your life starts to reflect them. The way you show up, the way you lead, the way you respond when life tests you again, because it always will. But this time, you're not reacting out of fear, you're responding with wisdom. You're not driven by insecurity. You're fueled by purpose. You're no longer trying to escape who you were. You're fully embracing who you are and who you're becoming. That kind of transformation, it changes more than your circumstances. It changes your identity. Now you start thinking differently, dreaming differently. You don't ask, what can I get? You ask, what can I build? You don't search for comfort. You chase impact. You don't envy others. You empower them. Because true success is not just rising alone. It's lifting others as you go. And you know what it feels like to have nothing. So you never forget the power of giving everything. You've become a creator, not just of wealth, but of opportunity, of belief, of change. And the people who once doubted you, they can't deny you now. Not because you silenced them, but because you outgrew them. You surpassed the limits they put on you. And now your very existence disrupts the narrative they tried to keep you trapped in. That's the quiet power of becoming. No revenge, no ego, just results, just growth, just living in a way that makes the past irrelevant. Because now you don't need to prove anything. Your life is the proof. The way you carry yourself, the way you lead with integrity, the way you keep going, not for applause, but because your purpose demands it. And make no mistake, this is just the beginning. You didn't come this far to plateau. You didn't survive everything just to settle. You're not done. In fact, you're just getting started. The foundation is laid. The fire is lit. The hunger hasn't left. It's just matured. Now it's not about desperation. It's about destiny. You understand now true riches aren't just found in what you have. They're found in who you've become, in your ability to stay steady when the world shakes, in your ability to love yourself even when no one clapped, in your decision to keep building when it would have been easier to break. This is the mindset that builds empires, not just of money, but of meaning, of impact, of legacy. Because you're not just trying to live a good life, you're trying to leave something behind that lasts. A standard, a message, a reason for others to believe in their own rise. You are living proof that the struggle wasn't wasted, that the pain had a purpose, that every no, every setback, every lonely night led to this, to clarity, to strength, to the kind of success that can't be measured in numbers, but in influence, in truth, in how many lives your journey touches. So keep going, keep rising, not to prove anything, but to fulfill everything. The climb was never just about escaping where you were. It was about unlocking who you are. And now that you've found that, nothing can stop you. Now that you've become the person who rises, you realize something few people ever do. The goal was never just success. The goal was evolution, to grow beyond your fears, to live beyond your past, to step into the life you were always meant to build, not the one the world handed you. That's what this journey was really about. Not just chasing more, but becoming more. The kind of person who doesn't just survive storms, but commands the sky after they pass. And with this transformation comes responsibility. Because once you've found your power, the question changes. It's no longer how far can I go, but who can I lift while I rise? The climb gave you strength, but it also gave you perspective. You remember the struggle. You remember what it felt like to be invisible, to be dismissed, to carry potential that no one else could see. And that memory fuels you. It humbles you. It sharpens your purpose. Now, every move you make is intentional. Every goal is rooted in something deeper than pride. You're not chasing external rewards anymore. You're building a legacy, one that reaches beyond you, one that echoes long after your time, because you've tasted both ends of the spectrum, poverty and power, doubt and belief. And you know what truly matters isn't what you accumulate, but what you activate in others. The fire that once burned out of desperation now burns with direction. It's focused, controlled, fierce. And you no longer move from pressure. You move from principle, from clarity. You've done the work. You've bled for your growth. And because of that, you walk into every room with the quiet strength of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. You are the evidence. There's no need to explain your story. People feel it in your presence. They see it in your decisions, your discipline, your consistency, because that's what true wealth looks like. Ownership over your life. Peace in your mind. Alignment between who you are and how you show up in the world. You don't chase hype because your mission is too real. You don't waste time on envy because you're too busy building. And you don't fold under pressure because you've already faced worse and rose anyway. And now you operate with a kind of momentum that can't be stopped because it's not built on luck. It's built on unshakable belief. A belief forged through fire, not borrowed from others. You've seen what happens when you trust yourself. When you move through fear, not away from it. When you take the hit and still move forward. That kind of resilience doesn't just make you strong. It makes you limitless. Every lesson, every setback, every rejection, it all added up. It all served you. Even the moments you hated, even the people who doubted you. They became the pressure that shaped your purpose. And now, no matter what life throws your way, you meet it with confidence. Not because you're invincible, but because you're intentional. You've already proven that nothing outside you has more power than what lives inside you. This is the season where you own it fully. No more second guessing. No more apologizing for wanting more, for becoming more, for demanding more of yourself and your life. You didn't come this far to shrink. You came to shine, to lead, to expand. Because the world doesn't need more people playing small. It needs more people bold enough to live the life they were designed for and brave enough to help others do the same. So don't hold back. Not now. Not when the proof is in your path. Not when your scars have turned into symbols of strength. Not when your struggle has become a source of light for others still walking through the dark. Your rise is no longer just about you. It's a signal, a reminder that greatness is possible, that the underdog can win, that the ones who start with nothing can still build everything. Every time you speak with integrity, every time you show up when it's hard, every time you lead with purpose, you inspire someone else to do the same. That ripple is your legacy. Are not the trophies, not the titles, but the lives you touch by living yours fully. You've come too far to let comfort seduce you now. You've outgrown the version of you that settled, that hesitated, that waited for the right time. This is the time, right now, right here. And everything you've been through has led to this moment, the moment you fully step into the person you've always had inside you. So take the next step. Say yes to the bigger vision. Raise your standards again. Trust your fire. Because this is what you were built for. Not to simply make it out, but to rise so powerfully that your life becomes proof of what's possible for those still in the fight. You were not just meant to escape the bottom. You were meant to build from it, to rise with purpose, to live with fire, to lead with heart. And now that you've found that power, don't ever give it back. This is what it means to rise with purpose. Not just to break free from the past, but to become the kind of person who rewrites what's possible. You didn't get here by accident. You got here because you refused to let the weight of your circumstances be heavier than your belief. And now that you've stepped into this version of yourself, you carry a different energy. You don't need to announce your power. You live it. Every day you choose to show up, you remind yourself that you've already done the hard part. You've decided. You made the internal shift. You broke the cycle. And now every win is built on a foundation of pain, persistence, and perspective. That's why it means more. Because it wasn't handed to you. You didn't skip the climb. You endured every step, every fall, every lonely mile, and you never let go of the vision. And now you realize